Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.
It's Korea Blockchain Week and the launch of the new season of Crypto Trader. Last year when we were here, the market was trading at $230 billion. Well, guess what? The market's still at $230 billion. But how far have we come? And where are we going? Join us to find out on the new season of Crypto Trader, which starts right now.
To kick it off, we're back in South Korea, the third biggest crypto market in the world, but as many say, primed first for mass adoption of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. It's Crypto Trader's fourth time here in 2 years, just part of our dedication to covering the global marketplace. We've gone in depth across the US, New York, Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, Miami, and across Asia from here to Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, even Israel, India and Dubai, to Europe in Berlin and Prague. Stay tuned for more and more locations with the biggest guests as the industry grows and grows. For now, Korea Blockchain Week 2019, the kickoff to this fall season with Vitalik headlining the conference.
That holds assets that's meant to last and continue running for a long time.
And I sat down with him to pick his brain.
And so if we're talking about the future of blockchains, I think what we need to do is really take stock of where it is that we are today.
We saw OG cryptographers like Nick Szabo.
I formed a list called LibTech.
David Chaum, Adam Back.
That's where BitGold and B-Money came out of.
Projects like Terra, Harmony, Chainlink, Casper, Orbs, and many more.
So, I'm going to be talking about Terra's own growth story.
Plus, Korean market movers like Hashed.
And with me I've got Simon Kim, who's become a real spokesperson for investing here in Korea.
And as always, traders abound.
And with me I've got Andrew Krogan from FTX.
We'll debut all new segments for the season, including the Battle Royale trading competition, our exclusive VR broadcasts of key conference talks with Live Planet, and of course, continue to be the definitive source for the pulse of crypto all around the world.
Korea Blockchain Week is hosted by FactBlock.
First, let's check in on my fireside chat with Vitalik and one of the most decorated cryptographers in the world, the co-founder of Algorand, Silvio Micali.
It's a great honor and pleasure for me to be moderating a fireside chat with two titans of this industry. So if I look at where we are today, we are almost 11 years in a post-Satoshi Nakamoto world. We have one dominant protocol. I've heard you both separately talking about that dominant protocol as being slow, maybe inefficient. Do you agree with my assessment, and why are we there?
I don't know, like markets are weird, right? So like for example, when I was following the kind of Bitcoin block size wars a couple of years ago, I remember thinking that like there's basically two futures. One of them where kind of Bitcoin figures itself out technically from a scalability point of view and where it does really well, and one of them where Bitcoin does not figure these things out and it does not do well. And the world that we're living in now is one that I just did not expect, and it's basically one where, like, honestly speaking, scalability has by and large not been figured out, but at the same time it's one where Bitcoin is doing well. I mean, economies are hard to predict, you know.
So you talk about scalability not being solved, and I think you were the one who spoke about the trilemma. Do you think that the trilemma is still as prevalent?
Well, first of all, let me recall the trilemma. So the idea is that it is hard to be both secure, decentralized, and scalable. And I'm sure that there are some definitional escapes in which you say, oh, it has not been solved because according to this definition it's not. However, I think we've done tremendous progress, and particularly we at Algorand are focused on having a protocol that actually was fully secure, decentralized, and scalable.
So let's talk a little bit more practically now. We're talking about the future of blockchains. We've now been around for a while. We've developed certain applications. What do we need blockchains for? How can blockchains really make our lives better? You know, I want to try and get away from this narrative that we had a long time ago where we said everything's going to be decentralized and we're going to overthrow governments, to saying more practically, how can blockchains change our lives? Vitalik, I think I'm going to look at you for this one.
Yeah, and I think first of all, there's all of the things that I just talked about in the presentation about how kind of blockchains are a good platform for kind of creating systems of rules in general that kind of span across large and diverse groups of people. And like that's a broad definition, right? Like that includes money, it includes kind of all of the decentralized finance stuff that's been happening. And I think like money and decentralized finance has been providing a lot of value already. And I think like over time we'll see it broadening from cryptocurrency to all of these other applications as they prove themselves more and more.
Sylvia, what do you think is the most important change that blockchain is going to make to our lives?
Well, and so I agree that payment is just the first level. But the most fundamental to me is the ability of injecting trust to enable two people who never met each other and therefore they don't even know each other to transact with trust.
Vitalik, so I mean, you've got a list of achievements in this industry at such a young age, which is probably unparalleled for someone your age. But when you wake up every morning and putting the technology itself aside, what keeps you going? What is it that drives Vitalik? Is it to keep developing new cool shit and to make the protocol to be much more efficient? Or is there a bigger purpose when you wake up in the morning?
It's some of both. I mean, I definitely think that like blockchains are new cool shit, and I hope that they become continue to become even cooler. But also, I believe in the promise of the decentralized economy and this idea that on top of these platforms we can build kind of new things and new platforms and institutions that can be more much more free, open, and inclusive than the things that came before.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure.
Hey.
Thank you.
So those are some of the highlights from my talk with Vitalik and Silvio. And the more exciting thing is that if you want to watch the whole talk in virtual reality, you can now do that, because we are broadcasting in virtual reality thanks to the good people from liveplanet.live. So if you do want to watch some of those talks, that's liveplanet.live, and you can catch the full talk in virtual reality. So that's the technical stuff, and now that the technical stuff is out the way, let's go have some fun and move to the trading with Mike Novogratz. Mike, first of all, I saw you earlier this year and I said to you, I think there's going to be another bull run. And you looked at me and you said to me, there isn't. This time it's only going to be Bitcoin. I guess the bull run came with Bitcoin, even though now we're taking a bit of a breather. Did you expect this breather?
Yeah, listen, I was hoping we held 8,800. Chart-wise, I thought 8,800 would be in the consolidation zone. Now that we've broken it, it opens up a little lower consolidation. That said, I still think medium term we go back higher. I do think Bitcoin's its own animal relative to the rest of cryptocurrencies. It's won the lane of store of value, of digital gold. What we're waiting for is adoption. And we're seeing pipes built for making it easier and easier for people to buy Bitcoin. When we get an ETF, that would be great. But you don't get an ETF until you get a fair pricing. And now we've got the back future. And I think in 6 to 9 months with the back future pricing, you can go to the SEC and say, hey, if you don't trust the New York Stock Exchange, who do you trust?
The market was a little bit disappointed by the backed futures. A lot of people said that the market went down because we were expecting backed to be this big bang. Were you expecting backed on the first day to do millions and millions of contracts?
I absolutely wasn't. So I was surprised that the market was expecting
That's exactly it.
And you had a little bit of buy the rumor, sell the fact market price action. Listen, it takes time for any exchange, any business to onboard customers, to get people excited, to get people to get trusted.
It's a new product.
New product. And so if you want to look at back and or criticize it or praise it, wait for 6 months to a year. If they haven't gotten to volume in 6 months to a year, well then we can call Jeff Sprecher up and give him hell.
Do you think that backed is going to get the traction? Is this the futures product that's actually going to create Bitcoin demand from institutions?
I think what's even more important than their futures product, to be fair, is that they're going to custody. And so, again, you're trying to get stodgy institutions or conservative institutions into this space. They want to feel good about their custody solution. And now you've got, again, backed, or the New York Stock Exchange, yeah, I like to say, because people trust that.
Okay, but that's the news on Bitcoin. What about, you mentioned Bitcoin is its own animal and it's cemented itself. What about the rest of the networks and the tokens? You know, when I looked earlier today, the total market cap of the entire market, other than Bitcoin, was around $60 billion. Now, you remove Ethereum from that, and you remove Ripple from that, XRP, you've got $30 billion for the entire crypto market.
There was a lot of junk that raised capital that doesn't have sustainable promotion, right? So if you think about what most of these protocols are, or most of these tokens were, they are going to build ecosystems that are going to be used. And they're keeping their value in advance as speculative tokens. In order to keep speculative assets up, you need new buyers all the time. You need new energy all the time. You need news all the time. And so, quite frankly, most of these products got liquidity way before they were supposed to. And that was just caught up in the enthusiasm of the crypto revolution. It was a mistake. And so now, listen, you have to look at all these as venture bets. Venture bets take, 6 to 10 years. And so why Ethereum keeps its value is because, A, there's the most likelihood that it becomes the blockchain that everything gets built on. And the one that gets built on, it's going to be valued because it's used, and it's also going to get some store of value. It's also going to be money.
So is this a good time to be buying these things, or would you rather wait another year or two to really see which ones are the ones that are going to get massive up?
I like a portfolio of a big chunk of Bitcoin. You got to have a little bit of Ethereum, and then you got to have a lot of venture. And the rest of these tokens, they're opportunistic. If there's news coming out that's going to drive them, we'll be getting long. If we see overvaluation and running out of news, we'll be getting short. There are a lot of really good protocols coming out. Dfinity, Algorand came out, Hashgraph came out. These are big market caps with nobody in the sandbox. You need people in the sandbox. You need customers, developers, programmers, engineers to get GDP in your ecosystem. No GDP, no price.
But if we do get adoption with something like Ethereum, if we do get that killer dApp, that may all of a sudden...
Listen, as you get indications of adoption and as you make positive, things will go up some. When you finally get real adoption, I think these coins will be valued both as they said crypto fuels, right? We're going to use this for compute power, but it'll also get store of value. It'll be a money too. And that's that beautiful thing when things really rally.
Mark, it's been a great pleasure having you on Crypto Trader. And I think I need to go and buy a new jacket, so see you soon.
You got to trade well to get a jacket like this.
That's Mike Novogratz, and no matter which way you look at it, the man is a master trader. And if you fancy yourself as a trader, take a look at this. So that's Battle Royale, and with me I've got Andrew Krogan from FTX. Andrew, what is Battle Royale?
So Battle Royale is the trading competition going live this week on FTX.
Okay, now it's no ordinary trading competition from what I understand. Tell me a little bit about how this trading competition works.
So it's a little gamified. Obviously with the title like Battle Royale, it's kind of inspired by some gaming competitions. It's supposed to really engage communities as well as traders themselves. So it's going to feature a weekly competition where every week the bottom 50% of traders get knocked out. It also allows the viewers to stake our exchange token on their favorite traders to also earn rewards.
Okay, so not only do traders actually participate in this competition for a reward,
yes,
but people who are not part of these traders can actually bet on a trader.
Yeah, so we have an exchange token which we will allow people who are not even participating in the competition to stake on their favorite traders.
And what are the prizes for traders that win? When do they get prizes?
Yeah, so there's a weekly, it's going for 5 weeks. And every week there's about a 30,000 FTT giveaway. FTT is worth about $1.20 right now. And it's evenly distributed between the traders and the stakers.
Let's talk about the products that they're actually trading. I know FTX is not a regular exchange. There's a whole lot of cool derivative products. What are you actually trading? What are the rules of the game?
Right, so there's a number of products that you're allowed to trade. Basically the rule is you're allowed to trade any product on FTX right now. We offer perpetual swaps, quarterly quarterly futures and what we call our leverage tokens, things like altcoin perpetual swaps that are not offered anywhere else, indices that are not offered anywhere else. It really encourages people to use diverse and bold trading strategies to try to differentiate themselves.
You can really trade leveraged, amazing, diverse trading strategies. Okay, now I know the competition is starting this week. Is it too late to get in? If I want to get in and I want to be trading, can I get in?
You can still get in. This first week is sort of a get your feet wet week. There's not going to be any knockout round. People can still perform. It's still going to hand out prizes, but it's not going to have any negative penalties for people, because we understand that, you know, maybe you didn't hear about it until just now. We'll get people on board, we'll get people going. We want everybody to be involved.
Okay, now let's talk about involvement and what it means. Walk me through step by step. I go onto the FTX site, I register, and I want to trade in the competition. Walk me through what happens then.
Yep, so there's a Battle Royale link at the top of our homepage, ftx.com. It should be a relatively simple onboarding process, probably not too much different than what you're used to on normal crypto exchanges. You should be good to go. You can just apply to trade. It does require a minimum $20,000 of volume a week to be included in the competition, because we don't want people just betting tiny amounts.
What's the prize pool at the end of the competition?
Yeah, so it's 120,000 FTT.
Great. Now, if our viewers do want to get involved, where can they go?
ftx.com.
So, finally, we have a real trading competition where you can make money not only by trading well, but also by betting behind traders who you think are going to be successful. If you want more information, go to ftx.com, and here on Crypto Trader, we'll be keeping up with the top traders every single week of the competition. Stay tuned for more coverage from Korea Blockchain Week.
The Video Coin Network, the next generation of cloud video services. Consumers are streaming video anywhere and everywhere, cutting the cord on TV and cable. This is rapidly transforming media and contributing to high costs of encoding, storing, and delivering media files over the internet. Entrenched cloud providers control the market. Centralized and expensive, they create vendor lock-in and inhibit innovation. Content publishers have no way to recover the skyrocketing costs of these new services. The entire video industry is at an inflection point. Enter the Video Coin Network. Powered by a decentralized video ecosystem, it transforms cloud video into an optimized, algorithmically driven market. This allows us to deliver revolutionary price efficiencies, much like Airbnb and Uber. Join the Video Coin revolution at videocoin.io.
Coverage of Korea Blockchain Week is brought to you by B21, the easiest way to invest in crypto assets. We'll talk about getting an overdose of traders here today. We started off with Mike Novogratz. We then spoke about Battle Royale, and with me today, I've got Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee, the man who keeps calling the Bitcoin price sometimes right and sometimes wrong. Tommy Lee, I'm looking at my phone. $8,500 for a Bitcoin. Did you expect this drop from 10,000 all the way down?
Well, our clients certainly got our perspectives on this. You know, on July 30th, we sent a note to our clients. Again, you know, our clients are institutional investors, and we told them the Bitcoin Misery Index, which is a measure of what we think is sort of market sentiment, actually started to break down. So on July 30th, we said Bitcoin's risk off, and then we figured in the past those downturns took 8 weeks to resolve, so it should be around now that Bitcoin should be bottoming. But I think one of the big headwinds at the moment is, I think as long as macro is trendless, which means, you know, S&P has been stuck in a range, I don't think that's good for Bitcoin.
So S&P stuck in a range. Everyone's waiting for the outcome of the trade war between China and all these allegations against Trump, but the S&P is doing nothing. You got Bitcoin coming down from 10,000 to 8,000. Are you calling this as the bottom?
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying I think Bitcoin's trendless until the S&P actually breaks out. Okay,
now you're linking Bitcoin to the S&P here, which is quite a strange thing to do. Are we saying, why is Bitcoin now linked to the S&P? What's the correlation?
Well, it's not now, it's always been. So, you know, our point is that it's an unpopular opinion, but if you look at Bitcoin's history, the best years for S&P returns, which when the S&P's been up greater than 15%, have been associated with the best years for Bitcoin. So believe it or not, Bitcoin has moved in tandem with the S&P since its inception, not it's not really operating as a hedge today. I think people are overestimating the size of Bitcoin ownership. I think it's a very small market that's primarily retail today, and I don't think retail investors are buying Bitcoin as a hedge against the S&P. I think they're buying Bitcoin as a source of volatility and risk on.
And you're saying if the S&P goes up, if the US markets have a good year, then Bitcoin will have a good year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just again, it's just empirical fact. You know, if you take the years where the S&P is up greater than 15%, Bitcoin's averaged 1,300%. In the years where the S&P's been flat or down, the Bitcoin's essentially been flat. So, you know, it's just, you know, you can see it in the numbers. So I think eventually Bitcoin is a macro hedge, but today it actually acts a lot more like a high volatile equity.
Does that mean that you think that Bitcoin is going to go up between now and the end of the year?
I would say if the S&P breaks out the way we think it should, it will finally allow Bitcoin to break to all-time highs.
Wow, so many opinions here. I guess all we've got to do now is keep our eyes on the S&P. And if the S&P goes up, then maybe Bitcoin will go up before the end of the year. We've got a new segment for you. It's called the Mashinsky Minute. So you may ask what the Mashinsky Minute is all about. If you know Alex Mashinsky, you'll know that no one can rant like Alex Mashinsky. And so we've decided to give him the platform to rant for a minute. It's called the Mashinsky Minute. Alex, what is the Mashinsky Minute about today?
We're going to talk about what's moving the market.
Okay, and what's moving the market then?
Well, everybody thinks it's backed and it's VanEck and all of these exchanges and institutions. But the reality is that what's driving the market, as I said on your show several times, with the four main relay race is retail. Only retail can get us to new highs, and retail is going to get us to adoption and everything else. Right now, the institutions are sitting on the sidelines, as we can see. They're not buying the futures, they're not buying the spot, and more retail coming in all over the world is going to get Bitcoin to new highs.
All right, now, is there any hope for the altcoins? Because to me, it looks like they're going down and down and down. Is there any hope for them?
We're separating the wheat from the shaft, as we say here in America, right? We're taking the good project being separated from the bad projects. Again, there's over 3,000 funded projects on the alt side, and most of them just don't have a valid business plan. It's not that they're bad ideas, it's just that their plan are have not proven in this market. And the few projects that are going to show that they create value, sustainable long-term value for their customers or depositors are going to do well. I think Celsius is one of those examples, right? We had adoption from day one. We didn't have a bad day since we launched. So because we're doing so much for our community.
So that's Alex Mashinsky, and that's the Mashinsky Minute. Stay tuned for more coverage.
My name's William Quigley, and I am the CEO of WAX. My partners and I started the world's first consumer internet venture capital fund. I began my career at the Walt Disney Company. I have spent about 20 years working in various capacities in the consumer products market. I saw the very same type of potential when I first learned about the blockchain. As someone who has traded probably more virtual items than anyone on earth, billions of dollars through our marketplace, when the internet was introduced in the early 1990s, it had all this raw power, all this potential, but it didn't really do anything. Then, some key businesses started to solve problems. Google, they made it possible to do searches. eBay made it easy to buy. PayPal made it easy to pay for things. WAX is putting all of those capabilities on the blockchain to make it easy for consumers to use and to make it easy for businesses to build on. The WAX technology is purpose-built for e-commerce and peer-to-peer trading. It's lightning fast and it costs next to nothing. When we launched our first version of WAX, we had immediate success. In fact, the WAX blockchain became the #1 blockchain by transaction volume in just a few months.
From the S&P in the US, let's get into Korea. To get a real sense of the blockchain scene here, let's start off with Hashed. So you may recall the first time Crypto Trader came to Korea, we went into an accelerator called Hashed. It was an accelerator the biggest accelerator in Korea and part of a fund. And with me I've got Simon Kim, who's become a real spokesperson for investing here in Korea. What's the mood like in Korea now? Are people still bullish on Bitcoin, crypto and investing?
So of course the investors are not that happy, because of the price, but there are much more developers are coming to the space, especially for the application sector.
Is blockchain being adopted here in Korea? Are there applications in blockchain that are being adopted here in Korea?
I have to emphasize Clayton, the public blockchain backed by KakaoTalk. Yes. KakaoTalk is the largest dominant messenger app in South Korea. So every single people in South Korea use KakaoTalk every day. The penetration is more than 99%, I believe. So they already launched their public blockchain Clayton. So you know that Libra from Facebook delayed a lot, but Clayton already launched their mainnet. So that means every single Korean can use Clayton without any specific knowledge is how to manage their private key or how to install their DF browsers.
So Clayton is actually what Libra wants to become, but although Clayton is not asset-backed, it's very similar to the Telegram token, which is it's a big messenger which is now going to have its own currency.
Yep.
And what you're saying is that while the rest of the world have been talking, here in Korea,
it's already happening.
It's already happening.
The protocol economy is coming. Especially these days, we are investing more into application sector. Blockchain gaming and DeFi these days.
So blockchain gaming and DeFi, that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Moving forward, I think usership, and only usership, should be the defining metric of crypto.
From the buzzwords of blockchain gaming and DeFi, let's go to the biggest buzzworthy project out of Korea at the moment, Terra, whose founder actually made quite the case against the blockchain craze, urging projects to shape up.
The one thing that we should be asking for crypto projects is that how they plan to bring the value of their technology to millions and millions of users.
So, you were up on stage and you shot the lights out. The crypto markets were all driven by hype. Now the hype's gone.
Yeah, so I mean, most people think that now that the hype's gone, it's probably temporary, right? And the hype's going to come back soon. And the common narrative is, this is the way it's always been. But I don't think it's going to be like that. Because insofar as like these, you have literally thousands of blockchains that are not even being used by one user, right? It shouldn't be valued anything at all. So I think we're starting to see early signals that blockchain companies that are providing genuine value to users are the ones that are taking the cake home.
Are we getting adoption in blockchain as you see it today?
I think for the most part, not really, because basically, the common narrative around 2017 as for why dApps weren't getting traction was because of scalability issues. Now, for a large part of it, a lot of those problems have been solved, right? You have things like different layer ones, like Algorand, like Cosmos, and have you, that are a little bit faster than Ethereum, but you're still seeing the same user numbers, if not worse. So there's something wrong here.
What is wrong?
Well, the thing is, like, the focus has never been about user adoption, right? So if you look at the founders of the top blockchain projects, they spend very little time actually working on product. They just shuttle from conference to conference in different countries, trying to make sure that they grow the community, which basically means Twitter followers.
And so they've got this big community, but their products aren't getting users.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about your project, Terra. Do you guys have users?
Absolutely. So we launched a fully licensed payment gateway about 13 weeks ago, and during that time we've had about 430,000 shoppers come to our e-commerce partners and buy things. So everyday products like water and hospitality. So we run the full gamut of e-commerce-based services.
Okay, now what do you think that you've done different that means that you've got 430,000 users?
Yeah, so we took a look at what are the biggest pain points of not blockchain payment systems, but digital payment systems in general, and thought about how blockchain can solve some of those problems. So we identified two key issues for merchants that are hesitant to adopt digital payments in Asia today, and that was A, slow settlement times, and secondly, high transaction fees. So we basically built a blockchain from layer one all the way up to the application layer, and we said, look, we're going to settle to the merchant every 6 seconds instead of settling to them every 7 days.
Now, you announced a whole lot of partnerships here on stage, all related to getting more users on board. Very quickly, talk about the partnerships that you announced.
Sure. So live today already, we're integrated with Yanorja, which is the largest hospitality provider in Korea with $10 billion in annual bookings. We announced a new debit card with BC Card, which is a new debit card provider. And third, we announced the first global expansion into Hong Kong with SSG Duty Free, which is a leading duty-free provider in Korea. And then lastly, we announced an upcoming integration with CU, which is Korea's largest convenience store.
In the crypto world, partnership has got, should we say, dubious definitions.
Sure.
I want to know, when you say you've signed a partnership, what does it actually mean?
So it means that you can actually go to these stores and buy things using our Chai payment gateway. So the key difference between most blockchain partnerships and what we're announcing is that we do things post facto, or very close to the finish line. Most companies do it when it's amorphous and probably not going to get to that finish line. So I would say that's a key difference. You can buy things.
So it does seem that some projects out there are getting adoption, and here's one of them. It's a project that's not worried about the hype, the Twitter followers, how many followers we have on the Telegram channels, but rather about getting people to use their product. And what better playing ground than right here in Korea?
We're here in Seoul at the Korea Blockchain Week. Korea is at the forefront of digital assets, and it really makes sense for us to be here. At B21, we've set out to develop tools that make it easy for more people to get involved in investing in crypto assets. What we're doing is we're taking all of the technical issues that exist today, and we're making those look easy behind the scenes and creating an interface that is just quite easy to use. We're bringing crypto asset investing into an environment where it's 1 or 2 clicks. We make investing in that portfolio quite easy by doing what we call the multi-asset trade. You see the assets that you own in the current allocations. You press the plus or minus to change your allocation. If you want to lock it, you lock it in. And once you're finished making the changes, you just confirm the changes. So on our platform, we accept credit and debit cards, bank transfers. And one of the things we've done, which is really cool, is we accept cash. We're very excited because we believe with B21 we can help create mass adoption in crypto, and we're going to play a very important role in that happening.
From a top-notch Korean project, let's check in on one of the biggest movers in the space recently, Chainlink, a protocol focused on taking blockchain outside of our crypto bubble.
So one of the things I always wonder about is whether we live in this crypto bubble, you know, and that's the question I want to ask you here today. Are we getting beyond this like little crypto circle of ours? Are the big companies out there actually recognizing what we're doing? Are they starting to use blockchain, smart contracts, crypto?
Yeah, I think so. I think the nuance here is that as of now, the space is heavily about cryptocurrencies and tokens. And that focus is partly based on the technology and what it can do today. But the technology can actually do much more. So it can make all kinds of financial contracts, insurance, global trade contracts. And these are the contracts that larger global companies are more interested in.
But are they more interested in? So for example, are there large global companies using, for example, Chainlink?
Yeah. So recently we announced some of our work with Google and some of our work, upcoming work with Oracle. And you know, to point out what you're saying, the type of work that we're doing with these companies, it's not about cryptocurrencies or tokens. It's you know, initial early work on how do you make contracts for the financial industry or the insurance industry or the global trade industry. And those contracts are just more complicated than cryptocurrencies or tokens. And so that's where the space is really evolving. And that's where I think really the long-term value of the space is.
But are these companies going to use cryptocurrencies, or are they just going to use smart contract platforms on their own blockchains or blockchains that are cryptocurrencies?
I think it's actually very nuanced because there's certain scenarios where you do want a cryptocurrency for things like payments or settlement, and then there are certain scenarios where you don't. I think the next stage of the space is going to be more about these contracts that are related to other forms of value that aren't tokens or cryptocurrencies. It's related to securing the value in some kind of lending agreement or an insurance contract or something for global trade.
I think from what you're saying, it sounds like we've just taken the first step, and there's still a long way to go before we know what this technology is worth.
Yeah, I think we're at the early stages of these other forms of contracts going live and getting widely used. There's currently $500 million in decentralized finance contracts. There's lots of enterprises working on contracts that aren't about tokens or cryptocurrencies. They're about contracts that relate to their business, and those contracts usually require all kinds of external data, all kinds of connections with other systems, and the ability for them to do that is what I think is going to enable a lot of that activity.
From one innovator to an original one, this conference featured a number of blockchain OGs as we previewed. Nick Szabo, Adam Beck, and David Cham.
I used that opportunity to make the first eCash payment over the internet.
Right now I'm with David Cham, one of the real OGs in the space.
Yeah, I issued Cyberbucks, which was a airdropped self-standing currency, and then also we did fiat currency from Deutsche Bank in Deutschmarks in those days, and US dollars, and back in the mid-80s.
Okay, now let's fast forward from the 1980s to 2008 when the Satoshi white paper appears out of nowhere. Yes. What did you think when the Satoshi white paper appeared?
Well, you know, it wasn't that surprising to me. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, and do you have any idea who wrote it?
That's all I'm going to say.
And now let's fast forward from 2008 to where we are today. We have Bitcoin, it's the dominant chain. Are there any risks to Bitcoin that you can see?
It would be imprudent, sort of burying your head in the sand, to ignore the possibility that some state actor might find a way to use quantum computing to recover private keys and either just totally destroy Bitcoin or steal Bitcoin.
If quantum computing launches and they can do what you say they can do, does that mean that blockchains are not safe anymore, that your money is not safe on blockchains, that they can get your private keys?
Yes, I'm afraid if quantum computers were able to be of the scale to break public key encryption, then they could either be used to totally discredit all of blockchain, but just by publishing everyone's secret keys, or they could be used to steal money and transfer money out of the system or move it, make it inaccessible to the owners. But there are quantum-resistant blockchain technologies, and okay, I've been developing one, and I came here to announce our project. That is Praxis, and it is a stealth project that is operating in R&D mode right now, but we've made some very significant breakthroughs in this, and we're just announcing the fact that we're doing it, but we haven't yet revealed everything about it, but we hope to publish a white paper by the end of the year.
Wow, that does sound encouraging and scary at the same time.
That's a roundup of our headliners, and now let's cross over to Lindsay Drew, our contributor, to see what the traders are saying.
Thanks, Ran. As you said, the market closely mirrors last year, 2018. So let's talk to some familiar faces who are building in the community, the lifeblood of this industry, and let's see what the sentiment is. Bearish or bullish?
I mean, this is crypto trader, so I guess definitely bearish right now.
What's going on in the market right now?
We have Bitcoin go from 3,000 to well over 8,000 still. Any asset that improves 200–300% in a year, that shouldn't be an asset you're worried about. That should be an asset you're holding and collecting more of.
I think now we're reaching this maturing phase where we have to see if there's real adoption out there.
We're here at Korea Blockchain Week. What are you seeing?
What has the most buzz and what's the hottest is Clayton. So that's Kakao's blockchain.
Yeah, I see a lot of excitement here, a lot of the conglomerates involved in the blockchain space. We've got Samsung here, LG is here, South Korea Telecom.
Finally, the government is starting to recognize that the blockchain technology is separate from the cryptocurrency aspect.
Koreans are very tech savvy. Like everything about technology, it's always first. Like Koreans are always first and very fast at learning it.
Definitely, because 30% of the working force already owns cryptocurrencies.
Definitely with the ecosystem, with the governments being involved and with the funds being alive again and with the LPs coming in, there's a lot of opportunity here.
All of this momentum, is this why you guys are interested in being in Korea?
Definitely. So Korea is one of the only markets in the world where mainstream kind of institutions like Samsung and Kakao are actually taking a serious look at the blockchain space.
What's the latest from Kucoin?
We are about to launch our new platform on contract. So our new platform is MEXC.
What are you working on with FOMO Hunt?
We're trying to build the biggest events platform in blockchain and make it the #1 community platform for this industry.
And what about GAPS? What are you guys working on?
Oh, well, GAPS actually stands for Global Artificial Intelligence Prediction System.
And what is Fabric working on?
Fabric is working on the future of social media owned by users. We see a lot of perverse incentives in traditional social media, and we're flipping that incentive model and putting the user in control of everything they see.
And tell me, what are you working on these days?
My project Pocket Node, which is a one-click masternode staking service, has its own internal token. It went live, we had our pre-sale, it completely sold out, and we're currently about to list.
And tell me a little bit about Harmony.
Harmony is it's a fast, scalable blockchain. So we recently, onboarded Limpo, which is a Samsung Galaxy 10 blockchain wallet health application, and they have 250,000 users at the moment.
Well, with some of those strategic partnerships that you have, like Samsung, it makes perfect sense for you to be in Korea and definitely a part of Korea blockchain week.
That's the end of our coverage here from the DeFi conference in Seoul. But look out for our next show from Seoul with a live studio audience from the Decenter Cafe later this week. Until then, I'll be on Twitter at CryptoManRun, and you should trade well, my friends.
Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.